Welcome back, supply chain world. We know that our world has changed over the last several years. We as individuals have had to change, and organizations have had to change in order to remain relevant and continue to thrive in the environment that we live in. And this is going to continue. We have to be nimble, we have to be flexible, and we have to be adaptable in order to thrive and in order to remain relevant. So today's topic is how to navigate and lead through change, because we know it is so crucial for us to understand and to be able to adopt the steps in order to make change successful. And before I go into the 7 steps that I recommend, I'm going to first talk about the fact that change requires time. It requires effort, energy, and commitment. If you know up front that your team or organization cannot commit those things in order for the change to occur and be successful, then perhaps the change initiative is not a priority. And the second is to recognize that change processes are like a pull and push system. Nobody wants to change the status quo. However, the new culture requires a new status quo. So you must pull people along in the change as they push back. Okay. And it's also realizing the fact that leading through change requires leadership to influence its people to realize that the status quo is no longer the best state for the team or organization to function in. There is reason that the change must occur. Okay, so now that we've established those first elements of change, I want to start talking about the various steps that are crucial in ensuring that a change is successful. The first step is to paint the picture of alignment for your staff. You've got processes, you've got strategy, you have an environment, you have a structure, and you have people. So helping your staff understand the why and why the change requires alignment in those various elements is crucial for them to connect the dots, to the vision and the mission of the organization, and to connect the dots of where they fit in the change. The second is to communicate advantages of the change. For people to truly adopt it and to be on board, they want to understand why the change is beneficial. And the third is to start those new conversations. Perhaps there's a new language, perhaps there's new verbiage or words to use in order for the team and for the organization to truly understand what the change represents. That new language is crucial in communication and in conversations for people to start to make the connection to how everything is aligned, and again, the benefits of that change. And the fourth step is to be patient. Sustainable change requires investment. It requires, again, that time, that energy, commitment, and effort, but it also requires patience and emotional investment. Understanding that people don't like change, understanding that it creates anxiety, it creates a power struggle, and it requires new habits that are not easy for people to adopt. And having that understanding, but then being patient about it, is crucial. It shows as a leader that you understand what it takes to make meaningful change, and you understand how it affects every single individual on the team. The fifth step is to communicate the change to stakeholders. Perhaps there are peripheral stakeholders that you work with that may not be directly affected by the change, but perhaps indirectly affected by the change. A common mistake that is made in change management is that those peripheral stakeholders don't understand or know about the change until much later down the road. And this can create chaos because perhaps they are blindsided by certain actions or interactions that occur. Then it brings about questions. It brings about confusion and even more anxiety around, what are you talking about? Tell me more about this. How come I'm now just learning about this? I should have had a good understanding of this change earlier on. So you want to avoid that as best as you possibly can. And the sixth step is to educate and train all your staff as properly as you possibly can. This is a crucial step because you want folks to be confident in the change. You want them to have the right resources and references in order to adopt and make sure the change moves forward in the fashion that it needs to. And the last step is to look for those change agents. Look for those individuals that are actually excited about the change, that are perhaps adopting the change early on and want to be a part of it. I'm sure that they exist. Look for those individuals that have the strength to help make the change possible. Perhaps they have strengths in communication. Perhaps they have a strength in strategy. Bring them in and make them part of the change. I hope these steps were helpful for you. If you're going through change now, perhaps look at these steps and identify areas that you could spend more time in. Again, it's that time, commitment, energy, and effort that every single person needs to ensure they take to make that change successful. Thank you so much for joining me, and I'll see you next time.